Professor Biswas is a senior professor of OB and HR at the Institute of Rural Management, Anand, with about 35 years of professional experience in research, teaching, executive training, and consulting. He has published more than 40 research papers in referred journals, book chapters, and 50 papers in several conferences. He is the chief editor of International Journal of Rural Management, a SAGE publication. He is also member editorial board of several reputed research journals. He has been a visiting faculty at several institutes in India and abroad. And last but not the least, for the information of all learned delegates here, respected speakers, guests here, and he's my friend from college stage. And let me take the permission of Saswat that we have married two girls from one town, small town, neighboring city from Khurda. So that way, family-wise also, we are close to each other. Saswat, over to you, please.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. Just a minute, let me. I'll have to. I am not using any PPT. My presentation will be face-to-face presentation, and I would like to.
It's okay. It's okay. Perfectly okay. Please continue.
I'll tell you. I'll debrief at the end why it is so. So thank you. First of all, thanks a lot, Professor Rabi Subuddhi. Yeah, I'll call him Rabi, so I'll just call him Rabi. So thanks a lot for inviting, and when he first told me that there is this conference going to take place, I said it's a wonderful experiment that we'll be doing. Personally, I have never attended any online conference, so this is for the first time. Though we have during this last few months, we have been doing a lot of webinar and online teaching. But I have not done any conference. So this is the first. Thank you so much. I will just, though the topic is on effectiveness of online schooling, and that's specifically I talk about it, but I will talk about the online education also. And once, once this lockdown started here, on 22nd March, I think we were told that there's going to be a lockdown. And my institute immediately within no time, because earlier also we had little bit of experience of online work, like I used to do in my courses. I used to do an online testing, online evaluation. Quizzes and tests I would give online. Many of my faculty colleagues will also do that. So we had little bit of experience, but when we vacated the hostels and asked the students to leave, and we started online teaching, we also collected feedback. In fact, almost after every 2-3 sessions, there will be feedback, and students are open to give their comments. And that feedback posed issue, a problem. The several problems we confronted through that feedback. And that is the time I started a small research work. We started a group of faculty from different management institute. Is it audible? I saw something going wrong. Let me see. Ravi, is it?
It's okay. It's okay. Please continue.
Are you able to hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, anyway. So we started a small project on working from home. And as we were going through working from home, we were also interviewing people. I wrote some 2-3 blog articles sort of on working from home, and also gave 1 or 2 webinars on working from home for general public. But, and as we were going, we got feedback. We got feedback from, like I personally interviewed many school teachers, and that's where this thing came in, that okay, at higher education we are having one set of problem. In school education, online education, the teachers, and from particularly mainly from teachers, I talked to teachers, I interviewed many teachers, school teachers, and that's what I'll be presenting. First of all, let me tell you today, morning, thanks for all the inaugural, they were very good lectures. And I think one lecture by Professor Sasmita Samant was very, very, that triggered in the sense that that's what I was going to. She talked about KISS. And when the tribal students, as I see in KIT and KISS, they complement each other. And when the tribal students have gone back home, there is a problem of online. And most of the online teaching, learning, teaching experience has been designed, or mostly people have thought of from the delivery point of view, in terms of how can we do a good delivery. Whereas in online, it is not the delivery and there is a recipient. And from the recipient side, what has been done or what we can do, these are the questions that we'll have to ask. Because from institutions have a lot of resources. They can garner those resources to do an online delivery. That may not be a major problem. That may not be a major issues. All the apps, and there are so many apps today that you can use for online delivery. Delivery is not. I'm not going to talk about delivery. I'm going to talk about from recipient's point of view. For example, we have earlier during the time of introductions of ICT, we have been talking of something called a digital divide in this country. And with online education, what we find that the digital divide is going to be very high. For example, the schools the schools that are located in urban areas, people from upper middle class, and higher classes, there's a high socioeconomic classes, people are going, students are going, they don't have much of problem. Their problem is different. I'll talk about those problems also. The problem is very different. The first problem, as we say, that it's a technological problem. So there are three issues in online education, particularly in school education, I'll talk about. The first one is the technical issues in terms of technology, in terms of hardware, software, connectivity. Most people in this country are not connected. So the connectivity, because 70% of, I come from an Institute of Rural Management, and whatever you say, urbanization and all that, despite all that, 60% of your population is still in interiors. They are not in urban periphery also, they are in 60% of the population. So there are technical problems, and which have not been, and at least last 20 years, though people have been trying to overcome those, but we have not reached that. There is last mile connectivity is very, very bad. Second is social. I will talk about the social issues that are creeping up with online education. And thirdly, the psychological, which all the three combined. So technical, social, and psychological. I'll talk about three. What are the so what happens when you have students, like we had students coming from rural areas? They were complaining that they have no broadband connectivity. Most of them have what you call cellular mobile connectivity, and mobile connectivity is very weak. So they cannot get, and most of them were not using the video. When we were conducting our classes sessions, they were only using audio because the bandwidth did not permit video. Second is that, so there are technical, and mostly another thing is that in many families, when this work from home started, and that's what we found in our study on work from home, that in the family, in a middle class household, there is only one computer, one laptop. And there are three people are working from home. The child is working from home, she or he is doing her school studies. parents are working from home, father is working, and there is a demand for the laptop at the same time from both the sides. So who is going to have the laptop? It happened with me also. My son was in +2. He was doing his studies online, and we have at that time I had only one. Then I got another one later, but I had only one laptop. And mobile is not a very convenient mode for delivery and receiving education. My son was was not going to do his homework on mobile. Online tests, he had to appear for online tests. He could not do it on mobile. So one is the hardware. And think in terms of if a middle class, upper middle class person is having such problem at home, what about people who are much below in socioeconomic status, who do not have the wherewithal to get even one PC at home, one laptop at home. So that digital, when we used to have or those who are of us who did normal schooling from government schools or municipal schools, we know that when we used to go to school, children from all social strata, from the poorest of the poor to a rich person, we used to sit on the same bench. There was a marker that we are on the equal platform, and the teacher's attention is equally divided among the students. There was no class discrimination. There was no. But today, because of online education, if it is to be, now my point is, I know that this is a short-term period, but many people are saying that this is going to be the future, but I am afraid of that future. I'm afraid of that future because those who do not have the resources, they will be deprived of the attention of teachers. They will, the divide will grow, and this digital divide will lead to social divide and economic the gap. Economic and social gap we are doing in this society, in our society. Already the gaps are very high. The inequality, the last 20 years, the social inequality has risen from all spheres. The impact, income inequality is also growing. And we did a study on happiness, and we said that one of the causes of unhappiness is inequality in society. The greater the inequality in a society, greater unhappiness. Societies which are happier, world happiness scale, if you look at it, are the societies which are more egalitarian, where inequality has been reduced to some extent. And there will be inequality, so, but it has to be reduced. But whereas in the countries like ours, lately opened up, the countries which have opened up in the last 20, 30 years, there the inequality in the gap has increased, and that will. And I'm certain that if this online education continue, particularly for school students, and there are a lot of research, and that's what that it is not just when we talk about learning in school, we are not talking about learning just mathematics, learning English, learning the grammar. The children, they learn social skills in schools. The children, they learn about empathy, they develop empathy while they are in a school with other children. As I told you that we were sitting on a same bench, person coming from the lowest economic strata of society to a very high. We had classes in which very rich person's son will be there. One industrialist son was there in my class, and at the same time, who's a daily wage laborer's son, a rickshaw puller's son, was also there in the same class, and we used to share the same bench. So there you learn this, to respect each other, have empathy. In fact, the studies in 87, there are many studies done. I cannot quote all, but I'll tell you one, a great Milbank, and Osborne and Milbank study in 1987, and they studied 8,000 school children. And they found what they found. They found, okay, there's those who go to school, there's an appreciable difference in terms of their mathematic or other skills, but the greater difference came in social skills. Greater difference came in their, in fact, the intelligence, social intelligence, which nowadays some people call it emotional intelligence, which is very, very important aspect in the triarchic intelligence. It is one of the, Sternberg gave that concept of triarchic intelligence. It is one of the it is one of the most dominant, one of the three components of intelligence. And that develops only when you are in school, you are getting schooled. Discipline, learning discipline, interacting with others, developing social skills, understanding other, ability to understand someone else's emotions. They develop, and they don't develop in the college time, they develop early childhood, and that is why they have emphasized preschool education in situ. If you don't, in fact, studies have been done where people who have never attended school and those who have attended school, the major difference, they found that when those who did not in early childhood, those who had missed out of schools, early childhood I'm talking about, early childhood experience, those who had missed out on schools, they lacked social skills. They became, some of them became misfit in the society. They did not know how to interact with others. So that is the second is that attention. Feedback, immediate feedback loop. In a class, as teachers, all of us, most of us are teachers, we know that in a class, when I'm interacting with a large number of students, I'm making eye contact. By looking at one student, sorry, sir. Yes, please.
2 minutes only.
Okay. I'll just come. So this feedback loop is missing in online school, teaching. Online teaching is can deliver. So we have been, just to finish it, wind it up, I'll just say that there are three components in teaching learning situation. The one component, what we call is a cognitive component. All studies, all courses have a cognitive component. Mistake most people have done, they thought that most courses are only cognitive. No, there are two more components. The second one component is the affective component. When we learn things, we also our affect, our emotions, they have a lot of role. The emotion means motivation to learn. How if I don't have a motivation, and where does the motivation come? Motivation come from the schooling setup. Teachers act as a motivators inside the classroom through direct communication. So that affect her. And third is the behavioral component. The behavior, when we interact with each other, we learn what to do and what not to do, what to say, what not to. So I can have a control of my behavior. I can regulate, not control, I would say regulate. And this was all established by a lot of research was done in psychology, started by Albert Bandura. Bandura's work continued what we call is a social learning approach. And that influence, that has influenced a lot of teaching, learning, and development in teaching and learning situation. So my point, and with this I end, that if people start thinking that online education is going to stay without, and I think one of the speakers said that there has to be a combination mode. Or maybe we can think of a combination, but I would say that online and fundamental, it cannot be put, because it is actually reduce. One is impact or effectiveness of education, it will reduce, and it is going to increase the divide within inequality in society. So it has implications for inequality. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Saswat. Really, really insightful, and you are, as expected, you are very much practical, and you have touched upon social issues, the ground realities. I'm really personally thankful on behalf of the organizers and on behalf of the Skeet family. I thank you profusely for sparing some time and sparing your